Welcome to the Bodacious Women in Cannabis podcast, the show where the bold and brilliant women cannabis business leaders share their journey and their expertise. Here's your host, Susan Burns.
Hello, this is your podcast host, Susan Burns. As a cannabis lawyer by profession, nothing delights me more than showcasing bodacious women in cannabis. Today, we are talking with Sysamone Phaphone, and she is the CEO of Savanh. And this is an Asian-inspired hemp wellness company that I am so looking forward to hearing about. Welcome, Sysamone.
Thank you so much for having me, Susan. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure. Um, so, okay, tell us about how you ended up in Savanh. I know I did a little bit of background research on you, and you have an amazing history and journey. So, talk to us.
I love sharing this story. It shocks a lot of people, but I was consuming before I even understood what the plant was. My mom used to put the weed bud in our pho broth. And my dad used to grow it in our backyard garden next to like our lemongrass, our Thai chili peppers, Thai eggplants, and things like that. And so I come from a very cannabis friendly family.
So you had infused vegetables before you knew it because of
Exactly.
cross-pollination.
Yeah. And so
Okay.
my parents never taught us that this plant was a bad thing. They taught us it was for food, for health, for healing. They did many different things with it. And so growing up, it was normalized in my home. And so naturally, when California became regulated, I entered the market with, the
But what an incredible story to grow up in an environment where it was naturalized.
yeah.
Let me just stop you right there. You're the first person I've talked to, and I've talked to a lot of wonderful women. But so I mean, were you mildly high, do you think, or do you
You
not know
know,
the difference? Or
so
I,
my dad had 16 kids, and how do you really chill
oh,
children out, right? And so, I mean, technically with my mother, he had 8, and then with his first wife, he had 8, but we were very close-knit. My mom helped take care of the other kids as well, and so how do you really calm 16 kids down kind of throughout their lives? And so I saw it more as, I honestly we always just loved eating my mom's cooking. We always just I never felt there was a high that came out of it. It was just always so good. The food was always just
mm,
so good. And honestly, I didn't even realize what I was consuming until later on when I was being taught weed was bad. Uh,
mm.
this is marijuana. This is bad. And I was like, holy shit, mom, this is what you've been putting in our fuzz, one of the herbs, you know? like, like,
Yeah.
oh,
So
dad.
was that difficult when you learned, like, and did that cause any problems,
Um,
like
I mean,
shameful or,
I mean,
other kinds of things that,
yeah, for sure. I mean, the war on drugs definitely gave my parents pause. It definitely paused what they did for a moment during that time, especially because they were refugee immigrants and
yeah.
they didn't want to get in trouble. They didn't want their children to get in trouble, things like that. And so, during the war on drugs, there was a good period of time in which my father did stop cultivating. My mother stopped utilizing it in food and her bombs and things like that. And we went through a period of time where like we listened to the media, we listened to what people were telling us that it isn't good for you, it's bad, it can lead to this, things like that. Um,
How traumatizing.
yeah, and then, I became more educated as I grew up and, started seeing different research come out about it, and then, started also helping my parents understand, like, we weren't doing anything wrong, actually. We were told we were, but technically this plant itself, we were right about it. It does have benefits for health and wellness, and so I just went about it, of course, more legally once the industry became, legal, and I decided to enter the space and continue my parents' legacy and what they taught me about the plant.
Nice.
Yeah.
So how did you enter the space? What was your first
Uh,
foray?
my first job in the industry was working for an active ingredient manufacturer that produced both THC cannabinoids and CBD cannabinoids in nano emulsion form. Uh, my role was head of growth. I supported other brands entering the market and innovating ideas and products. And so I helped them with like marketing verbiage, turning science into a marketable verbiage for their products they were creating. I got to help so many brands from creating infused beverages to creating infused click spray to gum to lube. And so my time working for I worked for two different manufacturers in the industry, taught me a lot, and then led me to my what I do today, which is leading Savanh Wellness, my own brand, my own products that were inspired by my upbringing, but also created for our AAPI community.
And what makes it different for the AAPI community and for everybody, Asian American Pacific Islanders, right?
I wouldn't say there's a difference. It's more of helping them come to the realization that what we've been doing for generations, whether growing hemp or cannabis, isn't something bad. It's always been something that we are right about in terms of its benefits. Also, helping them, help doing what I did for my parents is educating them and really guiding the way in our language too. Also, because we do have a lot of people in the community where English is not their first language. Um, and so they want to learn this stuff. They want to know about it, or they've had misinformation about it, and I help clarify it through their language. One of the education projects I created was a book that is translated in 11 different Asian languages that helps educate on cannabis one-on-one, all kinds of different things. And so for me, I feel like our community, one, of course, I want to showcase our culture. So when you look at my brand, you see my culture throughout the brand. It's sprinkled in its writing, even phonetically. The flavors are spelled out in the Lao language. Flavors are even Asian, lychee, guava, things like that.
And
Uh,
how is it, give us an example of one of your favorites that's spelled out, and how is it spelled out in the language? Can you tell us?
Yes.
Or,
So my bomb itself is actually inspired by my mom. She used to use Tiger Balm a lot, and she also used her own product.
love that.
And we call it yamang in our culture. And the only way people will recognize it in English is if we say like Tiger Balm, and they'll understand
Hmm.
the similarity. And so on the actual packaging of my bomb, uh, there's the written word of yamong in English, but also in Laotian language,
Hmm.
spelled out in our letters as well as yamong. You'll see that on our gummy SKUs too. You'll see the word lychee for the flavor, the gummy flavor, and then you'll see how we pronounce it in English as maklinchi, and then you'll see
Mm.
the writing in Laotian as well for the lychee flavor.
That's fabulous. I'm so proud of you for doing this. It's
Thank you.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It helps the
It
culture
must be
recognize it. Yeah.
it must be so affirming.
Yes, yes. It's definitely it's been very validating as well as very I'm very grateful to be able to do this, especially doing it in a regulated market, having the opportunities to be able to kind of not just bring these products to the market, but also show the culture and share the culture with others through my products, through my design, through the brand.
Hmm. Do you have a market outside of the AAPI community? I would imagine you would.
We do. So I mean, technically, we service everyone here in the States. A lot of our retailers are American owners that carry the brand because they have AAPI consumers. as well. One of our big markets that I really appreciate is Hawaii, actually. We are in Hawaii, and Hawaii is a big location for tourists, especially coming from Japan, from Korea, from China, and whatnot. And so they love going into one of our main retailers there, Hemp, because when they see our products or they see the products offered, they can identify with it as an Asian brand. Even if technically they can't read the Lao language on there, they can identify and like, oh, wow, that's an Asian brand. That's an Asian owner that produces that product. And then our books, our retailers also carry. And so they're able to access those books for free and see that there's content explained in their language, the Japanese language, so they can understand what they're consuming. They can understand the benefits of CBD and the difference between cannabinoids and things like that, and just fully be educated when they decide to consume.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
In California, I'm in Minnesota, and we now can grow, I think it's up to 8 plants. Can you grow in California?
Yes,
Your own?
you can.
So your community is able to grow their own again.
Yes, but of course, we have kind of the same limitations. If I remember correctly, it's 12 plants for us here in California.
That's enough to keep you for a while.
Yeah.
I think ours is something weird, like you can only have so many, like 50% of them can be flowering at the same time or something, like what?
The little nuances.
Yeah, it's so funny. So in your journey from formulation to starting your own company, you must have had some other adventures along the way, and I'm just wondering if you've encountered any particular challenges that sometimes our listening audience likes to, understand what your challenges are and like how you overcome them.
I mean, I would say as a brand, our biggest challenge probably is supply chain issues, right? It's finding the right partners in the supply chain. It's finding that fit of who can work with you also in your MOQs. I mean, in this industry, there's a lot of people that want to build a brand, and a lot of people also can't adhere to like MOQs or certain requirements that manufacturers provide, or even understanding
And
people's supply.
what's an MOQ?
Oh, minimum order quantity. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And so one of the big things that when building your brand, most of us start from scratch, right? We start at home. And then when you start to scale and grow, you then have to begin to put these pieces in place for your supply chain. Like, who is your active ingredient manufacturer? Where are they sourcing from? And then where does it go from there to your production, your manufacturer, to co-packing? Who's also your printer for your pouches? And is it, compliant? Is your label compliant? It's all the different pieces of the supply chain, and putting it together can be a lot for certain brands, especially brands that have no experience in the industry whatsoever, but they have an amazing idea to create a product. Or maybe they have an amazing formulation that they've created at home in their kitchen, and now they want to mass produce it and turn it into a brand. I would say that's been, I'm okay now. I've figured that out, but that is a big thing for newcomers who are interested in building a brand, especially those that are very new to the industry. The biggest challenge for me was putting together reliable and efficient and really good, genuine like supply chain partners that just fit what I needed and fit also the stage I was in, and had the ability and the willingness to grow with me as I grew.
And do you have any pointers for people going through that? Any mistakes you made we can learn from, or?
Definitely ask. Don't be afraid to ask other brand owners. Some will be happily share their supply chain or where they go, which conferences and expos they go to find the right partners. I've happily had so many conversations with other potential founders or brand potential brands that were coming into market or wanted people that wanted to create a product and didn't know where to go after that. So I was happy to provide like guidance of like, okay, these are good conferences you go to interview. These are good questions to ask possible manufacturers that you're thinking of. You have an idea. These are kind of your next 10 steps before you even get to a manufacturer and whatnot. I think the hardest part is that some people are afraid others will steal their idea, or they don't want to share it yet because they feel like they shouldn't. But for me, it's like, I think you should always ask, especially if you're new. Feel free to ask. Researching on the internet can only help so much. It gives you general information, but getting the information from someone who does it day to day and has been where they're at in terms of figuring that whole supply chain out, it's always best to just ask someone who has done it, regardless if they are kind of your direct or indirect competitor. You just never know how much they're willing to help. And I'm always happy to guide other women because I feel like there's so much of the market that we can all share. And so for me, I not only did I ask my former like bosses, my team members, like I made sure I like killed everyone with questions to fully understand what I was like stepping into when I was building my own brand.
And you did it anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. And on the other side of the coin, how about, so you started on this journey and you went through all of that asking and trying and retrying and
Yeah.
formulating and reformulating and doing everything to arrive at where you did today. But is there anything on the journey where you were like, I never thought in a million years that this amazing, wonderful thing would happen. This is so great. Like something that you just didn't anticipate, that you're like, and I always think of it as kind of a reward for striking out on your own and
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
forging a path.
I would say that for a small little brand that I am, one thing that I am very proud of, it's an achievement that hasn't been fully announced. We're working towards announcing it for the fall, but our little American brand actually received Thai FDA approval to be able to import one of our products. And we have 3 products in the pipeline that they're still reviewing for the ability to approve. If anyone in the industry has been watching the news, they have been seeing the chaos that is Thailand, where they decriminalize and are trying to reverse it. But there is a market where CBD, hemp CBD, hemp derived CBD products is still very welcomed. And one of the things that was working against me, of course, is that I'm not a corporate company. I don't have millions of dollars to put towards expansion into an international country, let alone I'm still working through the states here. And I also am bootstrapped. I don't take any investment. All the revenue I make from our sales goes right back into the company. And so there was a lot of doubt of like, could you really achieve it being where you're at? Being a sole female founder, running a small business, you're up against multiple CBD brands that are trying to get into Thailand as well. And some have attempted to like buy their way in with other, with different parliament members and things like that. And so I was a David versus Goliath type of situation. But I'm proud to say that I'm actually the first and so far the only American brand that has been approved to import my products there. And it's been a 3-year battle, a 3-year like process of like back and forth. I even almost threw the towel in so many times of like, you know what, is this it? But every little thing that I made, I scraped and I put aside for this budget to, of the Thai FDA approval. I worked directly with like parliament members. I found my way into all the right people. I used education, and being able to speak the language helps too. As you
So
know,
you're of Thai descent?
yeah, so I'm of Lao,
Okay.
Thai, and Cambodian descent. And so,
Okay.
I utilized every resource that I had to be able to figure out how to make this work. It took me 3 years to get the first approval, which we really just received last month. And now we're finishing up trying to get approval for 3 other SKUs. And then now we're going to work through logistics and how we get these products over there and into their market. Yeah.
That's great.
Thank
That's
you.
a fabulous frosting on the cake.
Yeah.
Good for you. And yay for tenacity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so we're getting hints of this, of course, all
Mhm.
throughout our conversation. What is it that you think makes you uniquely bodacious?
I mean, what I just shared about Thailand, I feel like,
Mhm.
and if most people immerse themselves into the Thailand business culture, they would see that it's really strong with nepotism as well as patriarchy. It's very strong over there still, and it's stronger than even here in America. We have a lot of very strong independent women that are able to speak their mind, speak up, change things. And with Thailand, it's still very much patriarchal. And having a woman, let alone lead her own brand, but also have a voice over there, it's hard. It's challenging. Um, but I feel like it makes me bodacious that just not just achieving that, but being able to stand amongst these elderly Thai men who in every meeting I've had to take my brothers with me, just so that I can get respect. First of all, just walking in the room. And of course, walking into the room, I mean, it still happens here in America where like people will think the man is like the leader of the company. They'll go shake their hand first or they'll direct questions to them. But it's
And
not.
you're like, oh, he's my assistant.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not as intense as in the Asian culture. Actually, in the Asian culture, it's very rare to see a woman lead a company. It's always a man, literally majority of the time. I mean, the stats over there are even worse than over here of having female CEOs. And so not only have I had to fight against like our own like American corporations and companies to achieve this approval, I have to fight against the patriarchy in Thailand, and I have to also continually show up and show them that I actually run the company, direct your questions to me, and so many times in every meeting, it never fails. They always go straight to my brothers first, shake their hand, and direct the questions at them and don't give me a second look until they ask the first question. And then my brothers are like, you gotta ask her. She's the boss. She owns me. We're just here to support her. And so I would say my grit, my tenacity, my persistence, and my I don't give a shit if I'm a woman. You're gonna talk to me. uh, Directly, and I brought these men just for eye candy, and that's it.
Well, that's high praise for your
Yeah,
brothers.
and
Good
bodyguards.
genetics.
I brought them as eye candy and bodyguards, and that's it. And they knew that too. I love my brothers for it. Like they never would let me travel alone to Asia. Every time I had to go and meet with the parliament or our partners and things like that, they would go with me as my bodyguards, and they always chuckled every time we went into a meeting, and they were talked to first versus me, and they would have to just point the people to like, it's actually her that you need to.
Culture shock for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, Sysamone, how do you think that your bodaciousness is impacts your brand and is maybe infused in your brand, and how do you think it plays a part in that in your
Um,
company development?
it definitely, because it's 100% women owned. I feel like the brand itself, and this is coming from a lot of other people, inspires a lot of our generation of Asian women. Especially the girls in my family, my nieces. it inspires a lot of women in the AAPI community, not just in my space, but in other spaces, to actually go and build their own brands and their own Asian inspired products, not even just hemp. Like, I feel like ever since I've developed this brand and launched it and showcased that you can put your language in there, you can put your culture in there, you don't have to assimilate to the current market, because there is a community of people that identify with your products and more prone to purchase your products because they identify with it. And so I feel like I've gotten a lot of great feedback, generally, that the brand itself, with the culture sprinkles throughout it, like, it has inspired a lot of other women in the Asian demographic to also be proud of their heritage and be proud of their culture, and take those steps to really sprinkle that in their brands too, regardless if they were putting out a Asian sriracha, or if they were putting out another hemp brand or hemp product.
Right.
I've seen just an influx of so many female-owned brand products for the consumer market that now are really Asian inspired, and culture is front and center, and it's no longer a lot of products being imported from Asian countries. It's our own Asian American citizens that are creating these products and showcasing their heritage.
So you're a pioneer still.
I'll accept that.
Yeah.
No,
Well, I
I will
mean, I
definitely
guess
accept
I guess that's not, we don't see that every day in our regular run-of-the-mill life where it's in your face about, well, you know what, this is a whole different thing for the Asian American AAPI community, and so that's thank you for illuminating that, and also being a pioneer in the area and a role model for so many. And I think it might be freeing and inspiring for the males in your culture too.
Yeah, I mean,
Because
especially my brothers. I mean, they are just so proud, and mind you, I'm the youngest girl in the family, so it's a lot of my older brothers looking up to me too, and so proud of me, and showing off my book, showing off my products. That my older brother actually showed my book to one of his friends that was visiting from Laos, and that friend happened to pass it off to somebody in Thailand, which led to also a lot of work in finding the right partner over there to support me with the Thai FDA. And so not just the girls, right, in the Asian culture, but the men are starting to change as well. They're starting to change their mindset in the way they look at Asian women, in the way that they view them as no longer submissive and subservient. They're now looking to them as like really strong Asian women that run the family, support the family, and can build companies as well. Yeah.
that's some kind of impact, Sysamone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So tell us, where can people find you? So if you're available for,
Yeah.
somebody can contact you to ask you a question about business or to buy your product, where can we find you?
Um, if you'd love to purchase a product and support us, we do sell online. It's www.savanh. Savanh is spelled SAVANH. It's savannwellness.com. And then, of course, all of our handles are the same. It's at Savanh Wellness. We're pretty much on every platform. You can find us on IG. We're very more active on IG, but you can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn as well. And if anybody wants to connect with me, it's very easy. Sysamone P at savannwellness.com, or you can happily DM us through any of our socials, and our team will respond and direct you to me.
Okay, and just so everybody is remembering, the Sysamone is spelled Sysamone.
Correct.
Sysamone. I love that name. It's beautiful.
Thank you, Susan.
Yeah, thank you so much. What an inspiration.
Thank you. Thank you.
I
And thank you
appreciate
so much for having me.